Hi, we're Michael and Cathalain MTW church planners in Nagoya, Japan. And we're sorry we couldn't be with you today in person, but we hope we can and soon in the future. But until then, we wanted to give you a brief update on our lives and our ministry. We just finished our second 4-year term on the field, and we're currently in the States on our 6-month home ministry assignment, our HMA. We wanted to talk to you briefly about 4 different things. 1, what our last term looked like. 2, what our current HMA is looking like. 3, what our future term will look like.
And 4, ways that you can continue to partnership with us during HMA and in our next term.
So first, I wanted to briefly tell you about what our last term looked like. Now, the focus of our last term was outreach and evangelism. And one of the main things that we were able to do by God's grace is to purchase and renovate a building in our target area for that purpose, outreach and evangelism. In the building, which is called the Nagoya Ministry Center, we've been able to have kids' English classes, cooking classes, young adult Bible studies, prayer meetings, an arts ministry, concert series, and all these things in order to meet people, to get people in the building, and to share the gospel with them. Also, outside of the building, I was able to teach at a local high school. Now, this high school was not a normal high school. It's an all-girls high school, very prestigious, historically Christian high school, about 1,000 students who go. I taught English there, and the reason that that was so significant is because it allowed us to get into the community. Now, if you, in that community, if you say, I teach at this high school, Kinjo High School, that's an instant trust building, an instant way to get into the community. It was also a way to present the gospel to these students, as I was able to give a message at their chapel. And also we had short-term teams come in from the States to do ministry at the high school as well.
The second point we wanted to talk about was what our current HMA situation looks like. As many of you followed in our newsletters, we came back from the field quite abruptly. I think I had 18 hours to pack up and get the kids on an airplane. As you have been affected by COVID-19, we too have been affected by COVID-19. All the plans we once had have been upended. And so right now, we're really patiently waiting on the Lord to lead what our next step looks like in HMA. While we're waiting, Michael has continued to preach virtually in the United States at churches, and he's actually virtually preaching in Japan. So he's had time to sit down and work on messages in Japanese. This is a huge help to us looking at our new term. I'm also currently working on taking our English program in Japan fully online. So as you can imagine, it's quite a struggle being in America working with our teachers in Japan. So please pray for that, as next week we'll actually be transitioning to 100% online classes.
So next I want to briefly talk about what our next term will look like. We are still currently planning on going back to Japan at the end of August, although we hold to those plans loosely, as I'm sure you understand. But we're currently planning that. Now, when we go back, our focus will continue to be outreach and evangelism, but also we're going to focus on starting worship. And so that's our big push, is to start worship in April of 2021. And we're going to do this not by ourselves, but with partnership with the Japanese church that we've been working at, called Shiga Church. So they'll be like a mother-daughter church relationship. So we'll work with them to start worship in the downtown Nagoya area.
Another exciting beginning evangelistic outreach will be Tom Wilson will be leading a new boys choir in the ministry center. So we're excited to see, it's the first time we've had a boys choir, and so we're excited to see with his leadership that evangelistic outreach. The last point we want to talk with you about today is partnering with our ministry in Japan. We always say there's 3 ways to partner. The first being the most important, and that's prayer. Please pray for a national pastor to come alongside the church plant. Currently, we work with Aoki-sensei at Shiga Church, but we'd like to have one more full-time pastor work between the churches and really help us launch the church plant. Also, pray for the launching of our church plant, the starting of worship, the evangelistic outreaches. Pray for our time on HMA. Pray for the church in Japan. So when you see that Honda, when you see that Toyota, pray for Japan. The second way to partner is to financially partner with us. Please, I know it's a very difficult time to be talking about finances in COVID-19, but we urge you, as you are able, please generously give to your local church. When you give to your local church, they're able to help support our ministry in reaching the Japanese for Christ. So as you're able, please generously give and continue to give to your local church. We're so thankful for your partnership. Y'all have been with us from the beginning. The third way, and again, this is odd to say in this COVID-19 time, but it's to pray about workers for the harvest. The harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. Pray the Lord would raise up missionaries who would want to work worldwide to reach those who don't know the gospel of Jesus Christ. Pray for workers for Nagoya, Japan, for this downtown church plant to reach many, many people who have never heard about Jesus, they've never heard about the Bible, and they know nothing of God's love and mercy and the hope in Christ.
We want to end just by thanking you again just for your faithful partnership, for your faithful prayers with us as we seek to reach the Japanese in Nagoya. We know these are uncertain times, but we have the hope, we have the comfort of a God who is always faithful, who is always there, who is sovereign and in control even in these uncertain times. So thank you so much for having us for this time just to update you briefly in our lives and our ministry.